And now I can't really get the wish.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this special parliamentary update as we seek to bring you update from what transpired in the National Assembly today. I have, before I continue, I'm Vickram Bharrat, Minister of Natural Resources. I have with me this evening Minister of Amerindian Affairs, the Honorable Pauline Sukhai, and Minister of Education, the Honorable Priya Manickchand, as we bring you update from the National Assembly and what transpired in Parliament today. As you're aware, today is quite a significant day, a historic day, a landmark day in our National Assembly for many good reasons, and of course a few negatives later in the evening, which we will update you on. However, today we would have seen the passage of the historic local content bill in the National Assembly, and also the amendments to the Natural Resource Fund, as well as amendment to the Fiscal Management and Accountability bill. We would have amended those two bills, and we would have passed the local content bill in the National Assembly today. The Natural Resource Fund bill is a bill that was highly anticipated. There will be much talk about the Natural Resource Fund and how money will be dispensed from that account into the consolidated fund and how it will be used, the transparency and accountability surrounding the use of that fund or monies, and also how it will be spent. So tonight, Minister Priya Manickchand, Minister Pauline Sukhai, and myself will bring you some updates and as well enlighten you on some of the key points in the Natural Resource Fund bill as well as the local content bill. So at this point in time, I'll ask Minister Manickchand to come in here and to give some comments on what transpired in National Assembly today.
Yes, thank you very much, Vickram, and to Pauline, good night. I know you're very surprised that you're seeing us this late in the evening, but we believe it is very important not only that we serve you, but that we let you know how, and that whenever, at whatever time, whichever date, that we are here to let you know how important you are to us. It is the 29th of December, when many of us are winding down the year trying to plan next year. We were very, very clear when we were asking you for your support at the election that two things would happen. As soon as we can, and as soon as we got the expertise and the help to do it, we will pass a local content bill, and we will tell you what that means, and that we would repeal the very repulsive and dictatorial National Resource Fund bill. And today we sought to do both. In fact, we successfully did both. The Natural Resource Fund bill was a bill to repeal an act that the National Assembly had already passed under the APNU+AFC. Now you would recall on the 21st of December 2018, the APNU+AFC government fell to a no confidence vote. That means the people of this country said, we no longer have confidence in you as a government. Move out the way, let's go to an election, let's elect a government. It could possibly be you again. That took 2 years. That never happened. They were supposed to come out of office and call an election within 3 months. You know the history, so I won't go into all of that, but how this country and the rest of the world had to chase that government out of office because they just wanted to hold on to power. In 2019, they went to Parliament in January when they had no mandate to do that and passed a National Resource Fund Act. That act is what we sought to revise and repeal today. Now, what's the purpose of that act? And Vic will tell you about the Local Content Act just now. But the purpose of the National Resource Fund is so that we could use the natural resources of Guyana to benefit the people of Guyana and for the sustainable development of our country, Guyana. That's the purpose of the act. And we didn't want to change everything. In fact, much of what is in this current piece of legislation that we just passed in the National Assembly was in the legislation that the APNU+AFC had passed. So it's very surprising and alarming that they would reject their own act. Two things were changed. One, the management of the fund, and 2, the way it is withdrawn and how deposits are made and how the calculation is made. Now, I don't know, I think we should pass on a little bit, but let me just talk a little bit about what it was before. Before today, it was the Minister of Finance, whoever he may be, at that time it was Minister Jordan, who had all the power to decide how this how this fund was going to be spent, how it was going to be invested, how it would be managed, and they had a 22-member committee that presented a smoke screen that looked as though they were managing, but in many reports done by people who are experts in the field, including the IDB, they said very clearly that this oversight committee is very unclear. There's no clarity about how it would work. In fact, they believe that it could not do and the purpose that the act had set out in the fund for the fund to do. And so it recommended more stringent leadership and governance. In this one, what we proposed to do and what we passed tonight is that a 5-member board with persons from the National Assembly, from the private sector, and other known persons with legal expertise and accounting expertise and business acumen, it defines who will be the people managing this fund. So that's the first thing that was repealed. And the second thing was how to calculate and how to withdraw the fund. Now, there's a lot of talk going on, we can thief money. But here's the thing, and that was a chant tonight, that we don't want no thiefing bill passed. Like I said, this is the same bill the APNU+AFC passed, except for 2 things: how it was going to be governed and how we would withdraw. We are saying in this bill that before a cent is spent, we will go to the National Assembly, and it must be passed at the level of the National Assembly before we can spend it. In fact, the bill is quite detailed. It goes on to say how you must say within the budgetary presentation how much you intend to spend and how you intend to spend it and so on. So this government, this country will know through the National Assembly. It will be appropriated through there, the same way we do a budget. We go and we say we want to build this building and we will spend so much on it, and we're asking for it to be passed in the National Assembly. Every cent that is deposited into the fund will be revealed to the National Assembly and to the people of Guyana. Every cent that is spent from the fund has to have parliamentary approval before it is spent, or in the case of a national emergency, as soon as possible thereafter. All of that accountability is in place, and we're telling you this right now. Right now, you will know immediately as a citizen of this country, whether you're planting Bora or you're working in an office or you're driving a bus, exactly how much we're taking out and how much we're spending. You know the $18 million fiasco. We didn't know how much the signing bonus was on the APNU. When we found out, they said they didn't know who had set the bonus. Then they said they thought it was a gift. We still don't know what it was spent on. So there was all that murkiness around how they could withdraw from this fund and what they could use the money for. We don't want that. And we said, even before we came into office, very clearly, that we were going to toss that bill aside and bring one that was more transparent and that was more practical. And this one that we've brought is in keeping with the recommendations of experts like the IDB and other natural resource fund, people who seek to, like NGOs, experts who seek to try to make sure the country's people, not only here in Guyana, but wherever there's their natural resources, benefit from that fund. So that is essentially what we passed in the Natural Resources Fund Act today. And I still am failing to understand what the objection was. I think, let's just call a spade a spade. The objection was so that once this act is passed and we are able to account for money that we take out, we're going to be able to take that money out. and we're going to spend it on the people of this country, the school children who need better schools, the mothers who need better health care, the farmers who need better drainage and irrigation, the bus drivers and ordinary road users who need better roads. It's the people of this country that will benefit. And so the APNU+AFC doesn't care what is in that piece of legislation. In fact, that's why they couldn't debate it tonight. They didn't even read it. They have not read the bill. That is how they operate. That's how they work. They're very lazy and uncaring of the people's work. And so they have no clue what's in that bill, what they're trying to do. And their whole and main aim and their every effort was to stop the passage of this act with an aim of stopping the receipt and expenditure of this money. Because we said what we will do for the people of this country. They don't want to see those things happen because it's a political issue. If we make people's lives happy, then they will have a hard job getting into office. But our entire being, our entire ethos, our entire ideology as a People's Progressive Party civic is to serve. And so all this fund gives us the ability to do is what we ideologically are made up to do, serve the people of this country. And so you will see that. You will see that in your streets, in your communities, in your playgrounds, in your schools, in your health clinics, in your hospitals. You will see that service. And that's what they're trying to stop, nothing else. And that's why we had the whole, hooliganism in the assembly today.
And there was a lot of talk, Priya, about consultation, and we are rushing this amendment to the National Assembly. But you're right. The APNU+AFC tabled and passed this bill in 2019 when they were illegal after the no confidence motion without us in Parliament, because we did not attend Parliament because the government was illegal. They took this bill with no consultation at all, with no opposition in Parliament, and passed it. Such an important bill that speaks to how we will spend the oil revenue to enhance the lives of our people was passed while the APNU+AFC was illegal.
Yeah.
And today there is so much talk about wanted time for consultation,
right,
and we should reach out, and all these talks about that. Also, I want to stress on the point you mentioned too about transparency and accountability. We have actually strengthened this act to ensure that there is proper accountability and transparency so that Guyanese people know how much money is coming out of the Natural Resource Fund and is going into the budget, how it will be spent, and then we are accountable to it. We are accountable for it. It will be audited by the Auditor General, of course. Reports will be presented to Parliament. The opposition will have a chance to examine the estimate line by line to know exactly where the money is being spent, how much is being spent, and on what it is being spent. So the bill actually enhances transparency and accountability with regards to oil revenue, and that was one of our promises, that we will not use the money from the Natural Resource Fund until we amend it to ensure that there is proper accountability and transparency, to ensure that we take away some of the powers of the minister, because APNU+AFC passed a bill that gave the minister all the powers to dictate how much money must come out of that fund, to dictate how it must be spent, with no proper accountability. Further to that, we have even included in this new bill a jail time for the Minister of Finance if he does not disclose revenue coming in from oil proceeds, or oil proceeds coming in. We have included a 10-year jail term for the Minister of Finance. And if this bill was in place when the 18 million was received by the Foreign Minister Jordan, he would have been in jail. He would have been in jail. So we have actually strengthened a bill to ensure that there is proper accountability and transparency. And the only reason I can see, or I can think of, that explains their embarrassing behavior in the National Assembly, where we had members of Parliament disrupting the National Assembly, not attempting but stealing the mace from the Speaker's desk. Luckily, we had a replacement, and the Parliament was allowed to go through, and the bill was passed legally. But this was the kind of behavior. And Priya is right. The only reason I can possibly think of is that they don't want the country to develop. They don't want people's lives to be better because people will see a better life under the People's Progressive Civic Administration, and they will be condemned to the opposition for a very long time. So they are actually playing politics with the lives of our Guyanese people. As simple as that. They don't want you to live a better life because they want political power. They want to get into government. They want to keep you down. They don't want your children to have a better life. They don't want you to enjoy better facilities because they just want political power. And that by itself shows the nature of the APNU+AFC and shows the people who are we are really dealing with, people who will stagnate development for their own personal political gains. And these are the people that we have to be careful with, because these are the people who will come to you 2025 and ask you to vote for them. These are certainly not the people based on the behavior tonight in the National Assembly, and you can see all the videos on social media because now we have everything that transpire being on social media. You can see their behavior for yourself, and you will realize how embarrassing it was. Not only for them, but for us as a country. For us as a country, they embarrassed the entire country. They embarrassed every single one of us in this country. So I want now to bring in Minister Sukhai.
Thank you, Vickram. But before I go further, I want to say also, I want to echo both my colleagues' points they have raised, because the purpose of our work in Parliament today was to correct the flawed National Resource Fund Act, and we've done that. We've strengthened it, and of course we've ensured that the strengthening aspect deals a lot with the expenditure of the fund, its accountability, and of course prosecution if anyone is in breach of any of the clauses or misuse of funds. And so it is a landmark activity which we were able to get swiftly through the Parliament despite the disruption. Another bill, as we are speaking about the parliamentary update, another bill which we successfully passed today was the local content bill. And this is a bill which all Guyanese were anxiously awaiting for, especially the business community. This bill is seeking to, will be able to secure and to protect Guyanese businesses. It will open opportunities for the fledgling entrepreneurial sector. It will also ensure that our Guyanese suppliers and goods and services will find its way to service the new and emerging oil and gas economy that we are now have to chart through the newness of this sector. So therefore, these pieces of legislation actually took a turn whereby Guyanese can rest assured that the People's Progressive Party's civic commitment made in its manifesto to ensure that this new sector, the oil and gas sector, is going to be piloted carefully and shrewdly by our government, and so that we will be able to ensure that the benefits derived from the sector will benefit all of Guyana. For example, in the local content bill, what we've done is we've ensured that there is going to be an advisory committee which will provide advice and even make recommendation to the minister. It also does not allow the minister by itself to have overarching authority with respect to being all-powerful. And so therefore we are in fact ensuring that these pieces of legislation will allow our government to be able to manage in a very efficient way the new sector. And I'm very happy that we have been inclusive in ensuring that the advisory committee involves the National Two House Council This seemed to have been the parliamentary opposition, of other civil society, the business community, some sectors, some ministries that deals with various sectors, for example, labor, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and other agencies. And these agencies are well positioned to ensure that the local content that we've been clamoring for, we've been asking the opposition for the last 5 years to produce, so that we can protect our people and make sure the benefits of the sector trickle down to us in a way that is usable, in a way that we can feel comfortable that we are owning the sector and we are benefiting from the sector in a large way. Obviously, there was criticism also that the indigenous people were being sidelined, or they being left out, they were not being inclusive. It was made very clear by the subject minister, who piloted the bill successfully, that when we speak about Guyanese, we mean all of Guyana, all the Guyanese people. And therefore, I want to set the record straight on that too, that the government has no intention of sidelining or not including the indigenous population from the benefits and the proceeds of this new sector. And we are going to ensure that we include them at all costs. We were also convincingly told the public that this is our first shot at this local content bill, and as we proceed to operationalize it, there will be times when we may be able to identify any shortcoming or limitation, and there will be opportunity for us to strengthen those. With respect to the criticism that came from the parliamentary opposition, we can say, rest assured to the indigenous population, that our government has been the one that has ensured that development continues to advance in the hinterland, and it has touched all the communities, in fact more than 220 hinterland and Amerindian communities in our tenure before, and even within this year, which is just about a year and 3 months, we have engineered development which can be very identifiable, tangible, evidential, and there's no way that our government is going to leave anyone behind with respect to the benefits that will come to this country, which we will be able to manage for the benefit of our country, that we will leave the indigenous peoples out. With respect to the fiasco that occurred in Parliament with respect to the disruption, for me, again, it is a show of how demanding, in a bullish way, the parliamentary opposition, more particularly the AFC, the APNU, in trying to disrupt and to stall Guyana's development, and not only to spike this new sector, but to stall the entire process of development. Again, I want to echo Priya's opinion and position that we will be utilizing the funds from the natural resource funds to enhance the life of the Guyanese people, and this includes everyone. And I don't want to repeat her, but I want to assure everyone that the PPP civic government has made certain commitments in our manifesto, and this is demonstrating that we are not only walking the walk, but we're also talking the talk. We're not talking the talk, but we're also walking the walk. And we are going to stand by our commitments, and we're going to ensure that the benefits and the management of all the proceeds that come from the oil and gas sector is going to benefit our country and our people.
Yeah, so I wouldn't bother too much about the PNC. In fact, in a small way, I'm kind of, look, the PNC is known for being unable to take defeat at any point. We know the most fire, slow fire period. We know the kith and kin period. It's always about race. It's always about trying to be physically aggressive. The PPP has been very clear through our General Secretary as a political party and through the leaders like the President, Vice President, Prime Minister. We are not at all afraid of any kind of this sort of rowdy behavior. As you saw, there was rowdy behavior. There were whistles as though they had a ready clung pack, ready with a circus. But we passed the bill. We went on with the work of the people, and we passed the bill. So this took work. This took the reading of this bill. This took some research. This would have taken time away from the APNU's Christmas. They didn't want to work during Christmas for the people of this country. We did. We were very happy to, and that's why we were able to come today and present. But the entire, the local content bill that we passed, how many of you know that, because you've heard it in the buses and the taxis, that people are complaining, that people coming from Trinidad to dump garbage and to pick up garbage and to do transportation, and Guyanese are not getting a piece of the pie. Well, we didn't want to wait another day until we passed the local government, the Local Content Act. We wanted to make sure we passed that, and that act specifies that these oil companies must hire Guyanese in X percentage. In law, 90% of your legal work must be from Guyana. In engineering, a particular percentage. In garbage collection, so many people must be hired in your company. You must show us a plan about how you intend to procure services. That's the local content bill. And the one that they started behaving badly about, this is what I want to read a piece of the IDB's book for you. About the IDB wrote a book on the sustainable resources in the Caribbean, natural resources. And this is what the IDB said about Guyana's act that the APNU passed. The fund's stated objectives transcend what the fund's operation can achieve. This is because attaining or failing to attain those objectives will depend on the overall fiscal policy rather than the operations of the fund. The fiscal policy of the AFC and the APNU, you know what it was. Spend, Bilawe, spend, party, sport. Nothing came to you. Tax the hell out of the nation. Tax water, tax light, tax education, tax health. The whole thing about us standing in a bucket, the Winston Churchill quote, was used so often. Taxing or trying to bring a nation to prosperity through taxing is like standing in a bucket and lifting yourself out of poverty. Then they had, and then the book continues. The book said, and this was very interesting, that compliance with the fund's rules that we told you about would not be incompatible with volatile and fiscal policies, expansionary policies that contribute to the Dutch disease, or policies that do not generate fiscal savings, particularly given the projected size of the oil revenues. And it went on to say this: the rules' complexity may also conspire against fiscal transparency and public understanding. We could not continue in government with something that conspired against transparency when our entire ethos as a PPPC government is to be transparent, is to be accountable. So we wanted to let you know that this bill that we passed here today, the Natural Resource Fund Bill, is one that will bring benefit to you, your family, your community, and to our country in a sustainable way, but also accountably, transparently, and in a way that you can calculate easily. This report also said that it was the worst in the world, the hardest calculation in the schedule too, about how you would withdraw this fund. And all of that was specifically designed to be deceptive, to fool you and to fool the Guyanese people into thinking whatever it is the government of the day wanted us to think. You don't draft legislation like that anymore in the modern world. In the modern world, you're supposed to draft legislation in the simplest of language so that the regular, ordinary man on the minibus could pick it up and read it and understand it. And that's what we try to do here. And we're very, very happy that we were able to do that. The bad behavior, I think, is just APNU being APNU. This is the PNC. This is what they do. So use it as a friendly reminder to yourself about why we must do the hashtag never APNU+AFC ever again. Please note that the AFC tries to hold itself, and they said they had hired an expert to reinvent themselves in this period and tell them how to, behave in this period. The AFC's parliamentarians were up front and center in this snatching of the mace, pushing down the professional workers, being very racist and aggressive to parliamentary staff, invading the well of the parliament, just behaving idiotically because it got nothing. I mean, if you're going to misbehave, it should get you something. And it got them nothing because this bill was passed and the people of Guyana will enjoy it. And I want to be very clear when I say the people of Guyana, I mean all the people of Guyana. South Georgetown, you have a flooding problem. All the time, rainfall too hard, rain set up your community floods. You have to fix that, but we need money to fix it. In the streets of Kitty Campbellville, Bel Air Park, Versailles on the west coast, the roads are terrible. We need to fix those, but we need funds to do that, and this is going to help us to do that. We need to make sure every child in the hinterland could go to a secondary school. We need to make sure once you go into primary school, you can get all the textbooks you need, and not just the rich children or the private school children are getting textbooks. We need to make sure when people go to the hospitals and health centers, they're not being told, here's a prescription, go buy this yourself, or making a baby is a lucky, fortunate thing. That these are, we develop our standards to world-class, first-class world standards across the sectors, education, health, the way we treat our elderly, our infrastructure, or just our ethos on accountability as a country. And that's what we're trying to do. We ask you to partner with us. This is not going to be an easy journey, especially when you have a nuisance opposition. I think today there was a jostle to see, maybe to impress the new leader. They're confused about who their leader is, but that's their problem. I don't want to clear it up for them. But this jostle to impress the new leader, and then there's a very real rumor going around about the new leader put this in place so some of them could get expelled so that him and his team could come in. Whatever it is, that doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your daughter. It doesn't serve your old mother. It doesn't serve your community. It doesn't serve where your church is. It doesn't serve your hinterland village. So there's shenanigans. We must put that behind us. And we must not let it distract us from the service that we promised you and that you are looking forward to. We have been very glad in under 16 months to be able to restore the cash grant to children, give every home $25,000 on the COVID relief, provide relief for families that got flooded out, passed a lot of important legislation, dealt with COVID, and is the only country that can offer the variety of vaccines that we here are able to offer. We have the most vaccines in variety. We have Sinopharm, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer. We have all the vaccine, the Russian vaccine, all the vaccines. We have been able to expand and give hope to rice farmers. We've been able to rehire sugar workers, all in under 16 months. We're not talking about what we will do. We just came in and we're telling you what we have already done. We're telling you a lot more is in store for you. And tonight's entire episode was to stop you from getting that. Because if you get that and you're happy, their political work becomes harder and they're lazy generally. And so that's what they're trying to do. They don't care that in trying to stop you from getting that, it means your life continues to be hard. So it's like the old thing about cutting off your nose to spite your face. Oh, let my supporters suffer so that they could be annoyed with the PPP. That was the whole issue there tonight. And I ask you to just throw it behind you and see it for the show that it was, really.
Thank you, ministers. I know we are run out of time. And I thank you for bringing this update to our viewers and what transpired in our National Assembly today. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, it is indeed a historic day, a day when the local content bill was passed in the National Assembly. This bill will bring benefits to Guyanese and Guyanese businesses from the oil and gas sector, because as you move around the country, the question that resonates is how will we benefit from the oil and gas sector? And I want to say to you that this bill, the local content bill, speaks to benefit to Guyanese and Guyanese businesses. Also, the Natural Resource Fund, as we would have explained, is critical and very important so that we can continue the work of the government in ensuring that we provide world-class facilities and infrastructure for our people. And of course, the other bill, the Fiscal Management and Accountability Amendment Bill, which will bring proper transparency to allocations being given to the various commissions, and also for the Ministry of Finance and the executive arm of the government to have oversight over those commissions as well too. So let me thank you once again, and I want to close by saying that our government is committed to working towards ensuring that every single Guyanese benefit from what we're doing. We're committed to spending the revenue that is available to enhance and enrich every single Guyanese, regardless of where you live, regardless of your political persuasion. And we are committed to working regardless of what the opposition throw at us, regardless of what the opposition try to do, regardless of how they try to derail us. We will stand firm, and we want you, the people of Guyana, to stand firm behind us because we have your interests at heart. Thank you. Good night.